What's up, guys? It's Boy T. Today we're going to be talking about Logan Paul and the George Janko situation. Now, the other day, George Janko had posted a TikTok pretty much explaining why he left the Impulsive podcast, how he got fired from the Impulsive podcast, and his problems that he has with Logan Paul. Explaining that he had a problem with the podcast that they did with Bobby Lee, where he had an issue with the fact that they cut out some of the things he said, making him look stupid, and the fact that Bobby Lee, every couple seconds, was sexually assaulting him. And also having Logan Paul and his other co-host Mike make him feel like a third wheel are not really important, because they said we're supposed to talk to the guests. You can really just chill out. You just a face.
The last straw for me was, Mike, I had to escape. I had to leave for my own fear. When Logan came after me for my religion, the show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I have a mortgage. I have my sister that works for me. I have Belle. I'm trying to get married. I had all these things. I had to start my own show because we're not making money on this show and I'm getting pushed out of this show.
Well, at the time we weren't making money.
I can show you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
Right.
Name me a job that you spend $10,000 to be on. And by the way, let's not forget that for a year and a half, I didn't get paid.
And I didn't get paid for years.
But when I got pushed out and I'm seeing that I'm getting pushed out and I start my own show, do you know what my final straw was?
What?
I got my show going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. And I'm saying, hey man, you can't tell me what to do on my own show. That's not okay.
What's that about?
He told me that I couldn't take Celsius. This is a guy who's sending a screenshot of $11 million a week that he's making. And on top of that, we never got any money from Prime, and we own that show. So technically, we should have gotten a percentage of that. I never asked for it like the way you did. I stayed the out of it. I didn't care because I'm grateful for what I'm making. I'm gonna go start my own business. But when I come over here, because I'm scared I'm gonna lose my job here, I go, Logan, I will take half the deal if you wanna put it on the table for my show. He says, I won't pay you a dime. You're here because of me. And then I said, well, what do you want me to do for my bills, bro? I got no money. And he says, go have your rich dad pay for it.
Now, any grown adult would have a problem with that. You're supposed to be working with your friend. Your friend's supposed to be helping you get this money too. Your friend's supposed to want the best things, best intentions for you. But then when you get a deal with a competitor, they're like, hey man, can't really do that. That ain't looking good for me. That's a real selfish thought process. And even if you did care about that, even if that was your first response to something, why didn't you offer him a deal? And then when the guy tries to say, okay, even though I shouldn't care about your feelings when it comes to my money, I'm gonna come to you and say, hey, can you at least give me a half or quarter of the same deal that Celsius is gonna give me? And then you say no. So how you gonna be mad about the fact that he went with the Celsius deal? I would have just went with the deal and said, hey, kick rocks. I mean, it is what it is. You're supposed to be my best friend or whatever, but you ain't doing what a best friend should be doing. If you're in a higher echelon, you're able to keep me afloat with just 1% of your cash flow. Why wouldn't you help your friend if you can help them? And later on, Logan Paul is actually going to respond to some of these things. However, the way he responds to it, even though it makes it seem like he's a good person, he does some things that George pretty much said, hey, I don't want to talk about, like money. He didn't want to speak about money. However, Logan Paul shows the books of how much money he made, which is just disrespecting what he asked for. You don't respect him as a person because you brought up the numbers that he made.
I had to start my own show because we're not making money on this show and I'm getting pushed out.
You made money on the show.
I can show you my books. I was spending 10 G's a month being on the show.
All right, let's talk about this. Obviously, I wasn't on the podcast to represent myself, so I'd like to clarify a few things that were said. As well as having his own credit card, all expenses related to the show were paid for, including all travel and lodging. Obviously, George's total reimbursement came out to $20,000, 317 cents. I'd love to see any books that show otherwise. Spending $120,000 a year to be on a show is a little confusing.
This is a guy who's sending a screenshot of $11 million a week that he's making.
This statement is so crazy that it's almost laughable. That would mean I'm making $572 million a year. I'm nowhere near that. What happened was Prime had a very successful month. I think we did like 60 to 70 million, and I sent it to our group chat because I was proud of the business. I was stoked to show the boys, and I think George maybe misinterpreted that as like my personal income.
I think it's completely understandable for George to feel some type of way at the fact that he wasn't getting paid for however months it was, and you're spending $10K a month to do the podcast. Now, do I honestly understand how you spend the $10K a month on the podcast? Not really. I'm pretty sure it's just for the traveling and stuff like that. However, if you as a person, if you're Logan Paul or you're Bill Gates and you're making millions and billions of dollars, right, a day, and then you send in the group chat, hey, this is how much money we made off of Prime, that is pretty much you. That is you. You still own Prime. So either way you split it, it is still you. It is a part of you. That is one of your assets. So you did show this boy how much money you made. Yes, of course, not all 11 million of it is going to be like funds that he can use. Of course, it's going to go back into the business. It's going to go to workers who's producing the drink and everything like that, truck drivers and all that stuff. That is true. But again, this is still, you're still telling these people how much money you make. That is a taboo thing in society. Not really telling people how much money you make. Even if you are not, don't have a problem with saying how much money you make, some people do. And George obviously has a problem with the fact that you showed him how much money you made. Even though it's not just you, it's KSI and whoever else on Prime. That is still a subsidiary of you. You still made that money at the end of the day.
Show hit rock bottom and we weren't getting paid. I was getting paid $5,000 a month.
But you did make a sizable amount of money on the show.
And by the way,
Say,
always grateful. I was always grateful
like that?
for it. Yeah, I don't like to talk about money.
I know he doesn't want to talk money. I know he believes it out, but George made $317,000 in the 15 months that he got paid for on Impulsive. The work requirements consisted of about 3 days a month, 3 hours each day, traveling the world, networking, and meeting some of the coolest people ever. It comes out to about $2,300 per hour, and he also had 10% equity of the entire show.
Now, as y'all know, I'm broke. Seeing that number just astounds me. Just from talking on a podcast is insane to me. That's crazy. That's amounts of money that you would have never seen in your life. However, George said not to bring up the money, and you brought up the money anyway. That is the issue. You should have not brought up that money. That is disrespectful. Why would you bring up money that somebody else is making? You are a boss at the end of the day. You are his boss. And I'm pretty sure that is illegal. I don't know if that's illegal or not, but I don't think you should be sharing funds that your employees made. It might not be illegal, I don't know, but I don't know. This is a bad thing, friend or not. This is not right. It's weird.
Going, and then not only was I controlled and pushed around on Impulsive, but then Logan's making calls and directing my show. He told me that I couldn't take Celsius.
So this is the big one. Making calls, trying to make it seem like I wanted to control his show is absolutely ridiculous. As you can see right here, I was like, hey, we got to get you Prime because I saw him drinking our competitor, and he told me to call him. He was filming my reaction to tell me he took a deal with a competitor. I told him, please don't film. Like, I'd like to talk about this. I hope you're joking, by the way. The truth is, I thought it was a bad look that my best friend and co-host took a brand deal with our competitor without consulting me, asking me, giving us even a chance to match it before he signed the deal, because the audience that he's building, at least at the time, on his own podcast was being funneled directly from the podcast that I was building with him. I said, hey dude, I understand you need to make money. The entire text is right here that I sent him after our conversation, because I did understand his position if he needed to make money, but I thought it was also a little odd because he did make $317,000 in 15 months. Regardless, I did tell him I can't have him on Impulsive if he's going to take the deal with the competitor, but if after he makes the money he wants to come back to the podcast, he's more than welcome.
Now, I understand from Logan's perspective, you don't want a competitor to be on your podcast, even if it is your friend. However, you should wish your friend the best and get what he needed to get. Him saying, hey, you can't be on the podcast is understandable. So you pretty much did fire him because, hey, I mean, we don't want you to be on the podcast because you got a sponsorship with Celsius. So it's understandable why he doesn't want to work with you at this very moment. However, he wants to be friends and cordial. However, that does not fix the problem that George has. And even though George asked for a deal with you, he asked for some type of deal, but you never really responded to that part about why did he have that response? Why did George respond like that on the podcast saying, oh, go get your rich daddy to pay for it? Why did he respond like that? You had to say something for him to come to this response. Now, could he just be doing it for drama reasons? Of course he could. But I don't think George would just do that for no reason, unless he's just really, really trying to get as much traction as he wants. Now, one of the things Logan does not talk about, the fact that George was sexually assaulted on the podcast on an episode with him and Bobby Lee. He had an issue with the fact that Logan and Mike did not say nothing, and they tried to defend Bobby Lee. They defended him instead of saying, hey, that's not cool. When George had an issue, they made him seem like the bad guy and made him apologize. But Logan Paul never brought that up.
I never had a problem with Bobby Lee.
No, he knows
I
that.
had a problem with the way that Logan and you were kind of gassing him to keep doing. He started the episode putting his balls in my face. I let that one go. Then every 2 seconds, he kept grabbing my dick.
I don't think...
How would you feel if a man that has his back completely towards you, that only turns around to grab your dick,
right,
talk shit to your face, and you can't smack or beat the living brakes off of this guy? Because Logan makes me apologize to this man, or I don't have a job on Impulsive anymore. How fucking crazy is that? I said, Mike, this is all that happens, and you said, verbatim, you said, it's our fault for not telling you this, but me and Logan are really the ones who should be talking to the guests. You are really there for a boys only episode. So while I get sexually harassed, my other co-host is trying to fire me, and you're trying to leverage me to be quiet during other guests.
Is a big thing that needs to be brought up. Dude is sexually assaulted on your platform, and you like, hey, it is what it is. It's funny. Come on, bro. That is not cool, especially if that's your friend. It don't even gotta just be your friend. That's your coworker. That's one of your employees at the end of the day. You should treat them with respect. If they are sexually assaulted, you should say something. I don't care what type of host you have on there. I get it. You trying to get as much money as you can. However, if we keep it real, Logan Paul, I'm pretty sure you're bigger than Bobby Lee, because I just learned about Bobby Lee through y'all. So there's no reason for you to want to have every famous person on your podcast. Sometimes you got to deal with things. Sometimes you got to be like, you know what, it is what it is. He ain't cool. He messing with my friend. Gotta kick him out. It is what it is. But yeah, I just want to talk about this little situation. Let me know what y'all think about it. I don't think Logan Paul ever gonna be a good person, honestly. He really tries to make it to a way that he's not the bad guy and George is the one in the wrong. And even if he not really saying that, he's trying to make George look dumb. Trying to make him feel like his feelings are not valid, in which George's feelings are valid. He has valid reasons to feel the way he does. So with that being said, it's been your boy T. If you like the video, if you could, like, comment, subscribe. It just helps me push my videos out to other people so they can see my videos. But anyway, it's been your boy T, and yeah, bye.